Thank you. My name is Marcia, and I first want to apologize to the candidates for not explaining our timing system. Seamus in the back of the room, when he holds up a red and green, that means you have 30 seconds. When he holds up the red, that means you're done. All right, thank you. Our next question, we'll start with David. Roe v. Wade has been the law of the land since 1972. How will you protect a woman's right to choose against those who want to criminalize abortion at all stages, even when those women need a pregnancy terminated at late term?
So this is a women's forum. It's part of the question, right? This is the question that becomes the crux of any major argument on the left and the right. And here's the simple answer. I will uphold Roe v. Wade and fight to uphold it and fight any exclusions to a woman's reproductive rights. No arguments, no debates. I will fight against amendments that make it impossible for a woman to have her reproductive rights, such as the Hyde Amendment. It must be overturned. And for those of you who don't know what the Hyde Amendment is, it's the GOP's way of excluding any public funding to places like Planned Parenthood for abortions. And I will also fight to make sure that all of Planned Parenthood's activities are included in a comprehensive, single-payer Medicare for All program to ensure that women always have reproductive rights covered. Thank you.
Well, this is an issue again where my personal experience and people that I love and care about, who have meant a lot to me in my life, where that experience shapes my view on this. My wife, she's not here. She's at home taking care of the kiddos today, so I can be here doing this. Before she and I got married, when she was very young, she got pregnant. She was about 20 years old, got pregnant, had to make a very difficult decision. Did she want to be a single mom? Did she want to make that very difficult choice and have a huge, huge impact on her life? She made the choice to have that child. And years later, after she and I wound up dating and get married, and I was very happy to be able to adopt that child and make him my son. He is my eldest son. And he is 20 years old now, he's in college, and I thank God every day that she made that choice. But I also have people that are near and dear to me, people who I respect, people who I love that had to make a different choice. And that was equally difficult and challenging. And it is for that reason that I think, not just as a human being, but also as a lawyer, just as someone who understands the law, that Roe versus Wade is about right. That's where it should be. That decision is a correct decision, and it is the law of the land. It is the correct law of the land. And any efforts to overturn it, I would be against.
This conversation is sadly misguided. You talk a lot about women's rights. What about the rights of unborn women? Did you know that some societies are more likely to abort a female fetus than a male fetus? It's a question of human rights and the literal killing of human beings who can often hear, feel, think, and move. Even the idea of women's rights in abortion is misleading. Only about half of women are pro-choice. And of those who are pro-choice, 80% still favor restrictions on abortion, with over 60% of them favoring abortion to be legal only in the first 3 months or 12 weeks. So just because loud people on TV push for free abortion, it does not mean that they represent the populace. Ron Paul, my political mentor, begins his book, Liberty Defined, talking about abortion. One day in the 60s, when abortion was still illegal, I witnessed while visiting a surgical suite as an OBGYN resident. He was a doctor. The abortion of a fetus that weighed approximately 2 pounds. It was placed in a bucket, crying and struggling to breathe, and the medical personnel pretended not to notice. Soon the crying stopped. The same day in the OB suite, an early delivery occurred and the infant born was only slightly larger than the one that was previously aborted. But in this room, everyone did everything conceivable to save the life of that child. His conclusion was that we were overstepping the bounds of morality by picking and choosing who should live. My conclusion is that we need to stop pretending not to notice. Stop pretending this is all okay.
Thank you. I will always vote to uphold a woman's right to choose, and if there's one thing that I'm tired of in American political discourse, it's white middle-aged men telling women what they can and can't do with their bodies. So I will see.
I'm a 20-year member of a group called Physicians for Reproductive Choice, and so I stand strongly with Roe v. Wade. The anti-freedom opposition has been nibbling away at this, especially for the last 20 years, state by state, law by law, making it ever more difficult for women to obtain the abortions that they desire and need. I think that having seen what I've seen in the course of my medical career, I was in primary care and delivered about 50 babies a year, spent 9 months of pregnancy with women on each of those occasions. In the emergency department, I've been unfortunately borne witness to hundreds of miscarriages, and having been intimately involved in those reproductive healthcare matters with women, I have no doubt that this is a woman's private decision to be making, and that there's no role for Uncle Sam and people like Robbie Davis to be stepping into the matter. Thank you.
I'm also a strong supporter of women's reproductive rights, and I'm going to echo what both John and David said. I am personally tired as well of men in Washington trying to make decisions on how women should be using their bodies. So, and I'm going to just share a personal story that helped highlight this for me. I have 2 sons, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. My first son, when my wife got pregnant, it was a very troubled pregnancy. And I won't go into the details, but it was very complicated. And she had a risk of hemorrhaging at different points, which she ended up hemorrhaging. And the notion that someone else would get to decide for her that she was going to go through with that is ludicrous in my mind. She never had any questions for herself on what she was going to be doing there. And the fact that she was in that room, and she was in the operating room, and it was very dangerous, and there were points where we weren't sure which direction it was going to go. But the notion that she wouldn't be in that room by her own choice is unacceptable. And so that's where I come with this issue from every time is, it's a woman's right to choose, and I'm going to do everything I can to defend it as a member of Congress.
I would like to say that I agree with John, David, and Eric that I too am tired of middle-aged white men making decisions about what women should and shouldn't do with their bodies, which is another reason why I'm asking people in the 13th District to send a woman to Congress. And I will always stand up for women, because for us, it's our reproductive rights are key to us achieving social, economic, and cultural justice. I believe women are fully capable of being in control of our own bodies, and any decision that we make is between us and our doctors. And if we're going to talk about this in context of liberty, then I would like to say that this is part of our liberty, that nobody is allowed to deprive us of our liberty without due process. And this is about our bodily integrity. And the 14th Amendment guarantees us that. So thank you.
Yeah. Women need to feel this world is a safe place to raise a child in. Right now, we have the threat of global warming, perpetual war, nuclear annihilation, and mass shootings. Every mother and fetus has a chemical cocktail coursing through their blood: BPA, C8, lead radiation, and glyphosate. Scientists say children born today will not live a full lifespan. We have scientists that say we're undergoing the 6th mass extinction of all life. We have scientists that say, or the CDC itself, reporting that by 2050, half of all children will be born with autism. The Republican Party stands against abortion, but they do not support legislation to take care of children. They legislate for our tax dollars to go to their corporate donors, hypocritically calling mothers welfare queens. And there are the Republican voters. They're not our enemy. We're all people. We need those voters to pull a Democratic ballot this spring, because the bottom line is we're not going to have a habitable planet to have a baby on, and that's not pro-life.
I agree with just about all the comments made up here, except by the one gentleman. First of all, let me be really clear. I strongly support a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions, period. And I will always vote that way, and I will go against anything that goes against that. Okay, so that's number one. I agree with what this lady was saying as well. We were talking about fetuses, but then we cut 11 million people off health care a few weeks ago when we passed this tax bill. We're talking about taking foods and putting them in little boxes, and we know people are going to starve. Military families are going to be really hardest hit by that. There are so many issues out there that one party is out cutting this, cutting that, killing the quality of life, and killing people. But yet on this one issue about a fetus, all of a sudden they're ready to stand up and preach at us. And I find that really disgusting and distasteful. I will defend your rights to make your own decisions 100%.
Yeah, this is a very serious issue. And the thing is, Republicans have been using it to divide us, and we should be coming together. They've also used it to decrease health care choices for women, decrease access to prenatal care, decrease care for children in all of our rural clinics and counties, and this has got to stop. And when you actually talk to rural voters and people that are pro-life, and you explain that, how they have been used and abused by the Republican Party, by this propaganda that we hear, in here today, which is a pretty good shock. And you talk with them, and you don't disrespect them, and they learn that, we care about life. We care about the life of the mother. We care about the life of the child, and we actually do something to protect the mom, the child, and the family. We're the pro-family party. We're the pro-community party. And you know what? It's about darn time we stand up in every one of these towns and in every one of these bars and tell people what we stand for. Thank you.
I worry that Roe v. Wade is not strong enough. That the problem is we end up having terrible fights over Supreme Court nominations as a result of the fear that Roe v. Wade will be turned over. I think it's time for comprehensive legislation that isn't just about a woman's right to choose, but is about every person's right to health care. Part of the problem is that health care is not limited to just physical health for individuals. I think that we need a comprehensive legislative plan that includes Planned Parenthood, that includes women's health issues all through the society, all through their lives. And I worry that Roe v. Wade is not going to be strong enough to withstand a Trump court. And so under these circumstances, I think that we who understand the complexities of this issue and who understand that middle-aged men, the one thing they could do is offer better social services and better medical services for everybody. The political will doesn't exist on the right, it's very clear, but in the middle and in the left, I think the will exists to put together some kind of a comprehensive law that protects reproductive rights and women's rights at the same time that it joins that together with social services and with children and family services in such a way that it just makes some kind of sense. Roe v. Wade is being chipped away in states with conservative Supreme Courts all over the place, and that is not a sound enough basis for women's rights.
Okay, the next question, we're going to begin with Brendan. Planned Parenthood and other organizations provide health care for both women and men. What will you do to ensure the quality, affordable, reproductive services will continue to be available through these providers?
Well, there's two things. First of all, we have to resist strongly and aggressively all efforts to destroy the Affordable Care Act. That lifted so many women out of poverty, in addition to made their lives, increase the quality of people's lives, the length of their lives for women, not just men, but also for women. And you have folks that are in power now that are hell-bent on destroying our access to health care. They do not view health care, whether it's reproductive health care or any type of health care, mental health care, you name it, they do not view it as a universal human right that every human being is entitled to. So that we have to absolutely fight tooth and nail and expand access to coverage instead of doing what the person who's in office right now, which was vote to take health care away from 38,000 people in the 12th Congressional District. Step one. Also, with regard specifically to Planned Parenthood, I mentioned my wife before. She's a nurse, and we talk about these healthcare issues all the time. Planned Parenthood provides all kinds of services, not just for women, but also for men. Important healthcare services that are not even limited just to reproductive services, but educational services, things related to healthcare, that there are a huge number of people, particularly in rural communities as well as in urban communities, that otherwise would not have access to that care. So I would not, I just simply don't agree with cutting funding to healthcare funding to Planned Parenthood that was signed into law by Richard Nixon. And they have funded Planned Parenthood for all those amazing healthcare services that are available to communities for years, and that's got to be sustained, not cut.
The Affordable Care Act was passed, and my family and I, we lost our health care. We had doctors, we had insurance that we liked, and it became illegal because of more government regulation. So I will help to keep quality and affordable health care by repealing burdensome regulations that drive up the cost of everything. There's a clear correlation between our over-reliance on government-mandated insurance and the increase of healthcare costs. We talk about the number of people who gained unaffordable coverage under Obamacare, but we don't talk about the millions who did lose their health care that they liked. I can't afford Obamacare. We need to take a major step back in all of this government intrusion into health care. Planned Parenthood is yet another big money organization which spends millions paying for wealthy executives to push paper and even donate to political campaigns. We don't like big money in politics, so the first step is to bar any organization that does receive government money to not contribute to political campaigns. That includes Planned Parenthood, and that includes the military contractors who bankroll Mike Boss' campaign. As far as innovation, innovation comes from the private sector, and the private sector is already innovating in healthcare. Doctors are circumventing the insurance regulations by participating in direct primary care that's driving down the cost. And there are cost-sharing groups across the nation that are popping up, and they avoid all the insurance regulation, and they save people many thousands a year. My dad is 60 years old. He has insurance for $200 a month, and he has a $300 deductible. And that's not Obamacare.
So I think that if anyone is feeling hopeless about our ability to get along, they should know that we're sitting next to each other. Boy, do we have really different understandings. We're not to be shaken. Yeah, so Planned Parenthood has for many, many decades been providing incredibly valuable services to women who need them and who can only get them there. And we should recognize the efforts to defund Planned Parenthood for what they are. They are a really class differentiated attack, because it's women who live in poverty, women who don't have the resources, who rely most on Planned Parenthood to get the health care that they need. It's not your Madison Avenue, Park Avenue dwelling women. It's women in rural America, it's women in small town America who don't have the health care or the resources that they need. So in standing up for Planned Parenthood, we're also standing up for those women in the mammograms and the pap smears that they get there and they can't get other places. I am an advocate for a single-payer healthcare system, for expanded and improved Medicare for all, which, were we to pass that, we wouldn't be having this conversation, we wouldn't be dealing with the ongoing war against Planned Parenthood, which I think most of us are tired of. Thanks.
When it comes to Planned Parenthood, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. I've done a great deal of volunteer work for Planned Parenthood of East Central Illinois. And in this country, which just can't seem to bring a single-payer healthcare system to fruition, something that I've been pushing for 25 years as a member of Physicians for a National Health Program, Planned Parenthood is extremely valuable in delivering primary care services. And when I get to Washington, I will look to expand funding for Planned Parenthood, including the elimination of the Hyde Amendment that David was talking about, a terrible amendment that particularly impacts women in poverty and women of color. And I would argue too that there's a great deal of value in sending a progressive doctor to Congress to stand up on issues such as this and on single payer, something that can serve as a leader and address some of the myths that are put out there by the opposition with regards to these many issues.
I want to take a moment just to address something that was mentioned about illegal healthcare plans under Obamacare. That is true. I actually worked on this issue. But what he's referring to, the plans that were made illegal, they're called mini-med plans. And they were a marketing ploy to get people to buy insurance, and they could not cover you at all when you got sick. And we made those illegal because it was hurting people who thought they had insurance, and when they got sick, they had the deductible was off the charts, there was no coverage, and that's what we're fighting for. And so, like John, I love to say, we are in some disagreement with some others up here on this stage. When it comes to Planned Parenthood, I've actually been involved in this fight as well. The House of Representatives, led by the Republicans, have been pushing forward a ridiculous investigation into Planned Parenthood for the better part of 2 years. I represented a major university in this country that was pulled into this ridiculous thing because they're trying to attack women's right to choose, and they're doing it in any way they can. Planned Parenthood has been an important part of our country for a generation, and we need to fight to protect it, and that's what I would do as a member of Congress.
Thank you. In Illinois, 64,000 people are dependent on Planned Parenthood. I think I just got that number wrong, but there's a lot of people in Southern Illinois who are dependent on Planned Parenthood for everything from cancer screenings to providing abortion access. And in Congress, it's critical that we have representatives in the room who are going to provide the votes for continuous full funding for Planned Parenthood. Not only that, we need to have people in office who are watching people like the Attorney General Jeff Sessions to make sure there are laws in place to protect abortion care providers and their patients from dangerous threats. And we need somebody we need a watchdog who's watching the watchdog. Make sure that he's enforcing those the way that they need to be enforced. And any national health care plan that we move forward with has to include the essential health benefits of the ACA, and that includes making sure that women have full access to maternity care, prenatal care, and that we take into account women need birth control, and we need full reproductive rights to make choices. Thank you.
Yes, I would vote to support funding for Planned Parenthood. 42% of their funding goes to provide treatment for sexually transmitted diseases. I think anything that end to life should be funded and subsidized. Close to 20% as preventive care for breast and cervical cancer screening. And that's something that, that's why we need a better healthcare system for preventative care. If you wait too late, especially with cancer, then it's going to cost a lot more money to the taxpayer. It drives up the cost of our healthcare system. That's why as I campaign, I've been asking people to call their congressman and tell them to co-sponsor HR 676. That's guaranteed 100% coverage for all medical costs, and it saves the average family of $4,000 a year. That is, it covers drug rehabilitation, and it covers in-home care for the elderly. So I think, that would be the way to go, and hopefully when we get a brand new Congress, I hope we do, they co-sponsor HR 676.
I want to take a second before I answer the question to talk about regulations. Regulations are put in place generally because somebody or many somebodies have died. So when I hear the other side talk about removing regulations, it always is greatly concerned to me. The crash in 2008, we took the regulations off. Before regulations, the Cleveland River used to catch on fire, and it looks like that's what we're trying to do again now. So as far as that, regulations are good. They're safeguards. We need to repeal the Hyde Amendment. We need to fund Planned Parenthood centers. And now that they are attacking the ACA, we need to defend it the best we can, but we need to take Congress and we need to get the presidency back, and we need to get single payer. It is the only option that makes any sense. I know every other industrialized nation has it. Their costs are half. We have a moral obligation. We are playing God based on income right now in the wealthiest nation in the country. We can no longer do that. We are a party of morals, and I am tired of the other party claiming morality while they put Donald Trump in the White House, the least moral president I think we've ever had. We need to be proud of who we are. We are Democrats, and we are a party of morality.
What we should be doing is expanding funding for Planned Parenthood, because in a lot of our counties and communities, we don't have women's clinics that like Planned Parenthood that gives people options, give them preventative care, give them contraceptives that prevent unwanted pregnancies, which actually prevent abortion, which is the whole pro-life agenda. And this is the problem I see wherever I go. It's access. I'm so like people. We brought up some STDs. I actually taught sex education in inner city neighborhoods in Indiana. And let me tell you, if you want to try to teach sex ed in Indiana, it's really tough. They make you redact documents, and it's disturbing when you have to do that. And when you do abstinence-only programs, it actually increases the chances of STDs and unwanted pregnancies. And what Planned Parenthood does is provide comprehensive sex education. And we need to be doing that across this district, across certainly central and southern Illinois, across the country. I'm so sick of people getting preventable diseases that we should have stopped decades ago. Thank you, Ronald Reagan, for killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens that could have been these deaths could have been prevented. And we're going to have an HIV outbreak. I think there's actually one going on in Carbondale right now. Bye.
I think that healthcare is a universal human right. And I think I agree with so much of what has been said here. It's a matter of basic morality and human decency to see to it that our fellow citizens have access, unlimited access to the healthcare that need. That certainly includes Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood needs to be expanded. It needs to be made into a much more comprehensive system for family health care. And for that reason, I mean, obviously anybody that you send to Congress, if he has any sense or she has any sense, is going to be fighting against all of these crazy right-wing nut jobs who want you to believe that somehow we can't afford decent health care, or that somehow it's a plot to take the lives of innocents. Abortion is a tragic fact of all human history. It's going to occur one way or another, and the only question is whether or not there's human decency involved in the process of counseling and of helping women make their decisions. And so Planned Parenthood is just the beginning, as far as I'm concerned. It's just the beginning of what we need to be doing. And beyond that, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I'm appalled by the attacks of the right on Planned Parenthood, of all things. They claim family values.
It's tough to go last on this, because I think everybody but one of us is on the same page. You know, the sad part is that only 23% of families in poverty are using these safety nets. That's what we should be discussing about. Because we have come to a point where we have allowed the GOP to attack our program so much that they make it almost impossible for families in need to use them, to use these safety nets. And Planned Parenthood is an important safety net for women and men in poverty to get STD screenings, to get pap smears, to get breast cancer treatment or breast cancer screening. And what I want to add to this is that we need to get to a point where we lead with humanity at heart. We lead with conscience and true morality, and that means having a healthcare system that provides every single benefit to every single American without exception, without exclusion. And we do that as a regular format, and we no longer need to be arguing whether or not Planned Parenthood needs more funding. It just gets its funding because it's a part of a single-payer healthcare for all program. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next